What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one I'm going to talk about the one and only Tesla stock and actually talk about this stock split that most likely will be coming relatively soon. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to define what a stock split is, how this actually works, and then I'm going to show you historical data because they did this in 2020 and we had some very interesting price action from Tesla. We had a big run up, then a bit of a drop. So I'm going to actually show you guys what you should be anticipating and how this may affect the Tesla share price going forward because we have some historical data to give us an idea. Now, before I break any of this down, before I talk about the stock split, the dividend, the stock split dividend is what I'm trying to say, or anything like that, I do have to mention a couple of things first, right? The first thing is, as you guys know, I'm not a financial planner, so don't take this as financial advice. This is all for educational purposes only. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire Tesla community as a whole. And the last thing is, if you guys can, please check out the Weeble link down below and in the description. If you do sign up for Weeble and deposit any amount of money, you are guaranteed 5 free stocks, each worth up to $2,000 if you sign up with the link down below. So if you want 5 free stocks, check out the offer down below. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So looking at Tesla, right now we have historical evidence or historical data, right, about how the share price reacted during the stock split in 2020. Now, I'm not going to talk about that just yet. Let's actually look back at something very important. So, right now, they are seeking approval for a stock dividend. I'm going to talk about what that actually is. But before I do that, let's talk about how a stock split works and what are the pros and cons of it. So, here's what we're seeing. There are pros and cons of splitting a stock, right? And for Tesla, I see a lot more pros to it. The advantages of it is the first thing is the stock split increases liquidity. So that means that there are going to be a lot more outstanding shares. And by increasing that by a substantial number, it does allow, like the market cap is going to stay the same, but each individual share is going to be worth less. So there are more shares, but they're worth less, which gives more liquidity and the capability of the stock to actually go higher for the long term because more investors will be able to buy into it. It gives more and more encouragement for smaller investors. That's a pretty good thing. Now, also, if a stock price is too high, this could also help lower each individual share price, which once again is good for individual investors and smaller investors. On top of that, it allows companies to send very positive signals. And in turn, it really incentivizes people to buy into the stock and builds confidence and other things like that. But the disadvantages are this: it does not change fundamentals. This is not a fundamental move. It just really affects the psychological level of investors. This is not a fundamental move, right? It's not going to really cause the share price to change based off fundamentals. It's FOMO. It's investors, getting hyped up. Some maybe, I don't know, big institutions loading the boat on shares too that are going to cause it to really soar during this time. Now, depending on the time, there could be other fundamental moves that could play a role, but this alone is not a fundamental move. You have to keep that in mind. Now, these also can cost some money, which I don't see as an issue for Tesla. I mean, they have billions of dollars in cash. They're doing very well right now. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Now, they say it could attract the wrong type of investor, which has some truth, but considering the fact that the company is so big, it's so hyped, and there's so many investors from all over the world in it, I don't see it that way for Tesla. So it is going to be good, but remember, it's not going to improve the company fundamentally. So what on earth is going on right now? So right now, as I'm speaking, Tesla seeks shareholders' approval for a stock dividend, and that's going to be actually kind of good for the share price based off historical data, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to just explode overnight, or we're just going to continue to roar and roar and roar for months to come. Because of this, it does not work that way. So the key takeaway is they want to plan for a stock dividend. And the way this works is investors get more shares due to the split, which is how you'd consider it a dividend. It's not your typical dividend, it's a little bit different than that. And on top of that, we've seen some very good moves because of it. Some investors were very excited. To me, that's good news. but you have to look out for some other things. So each individual gets more shares. This actually relates to something that happened in the past. I'm going to break down this historical data for the share price and all that right over here. So let's time travel back to August 2020. Tesla was actually dropping for some time, trading sideways. Then we all of a sudden got this news about, look, there's going to be this stock split. And that made investors very, very excited. So let me actually show you this article right here. They announced a 5-for-1 stock split. Now, remember the stock dividend, that term. The reason why it's a dividend is because you're getting additional shares. So if you have one Tesla share, let's just pretend this, right? If there's one share and it's worth $1,000, if there's a 5-for-1 stock split, your one share is going to turn into five shares, and each one's going to be worth $200. So you're keeping the same amount of money, but you have more shares, and each one's worth a little bit less. So that's how the 5-for-1 split worked. And that did actually help the company. The company ended up seeing the share price go up. It wasn't necessarily a fundamental move, but that is what we are talking about when it comes to the dividend. You got four additional shares. They were each worth less, but it's essentially the same money, and it does open more doors. Now, what happened to the share price is this. They announced it on around, I don't know, it was probably early to mid August. I'm not sure the exact date, but what happened is we started seeing the share price soar as we were getting closer and closer to it. And then the day this was actually shown on charts, I believe it was the 31st of August. And look at the share price. So this is actually adjusted to today's share price. This is like obviously the share price would have been different back then before the split, but it's adjusted for right now. And basically, with the adjusted price, we went from $442 a share all the way up to 499. Like, that is incredible. And we did that in one day. One day. That's insane. But then here's the thing about that. There's FOMO, there's hype. Maybe some institutions are buying. Maybe there was some gamma squeeze potential too that played a role because market makers had to hedge their positions. Maybe that played a role in pushing this thing up. But once we got up there, once we hit like 500, there's a psychological level there, obviously resistance. And we ended up dropping. And we went from 500 all the way down to about 400, right? We dropped pretty hard after that. And the reason why I'm showing you guys this news is because it was also reported right over here that um, Tesla dropped 7% because it was not chosen to be listed on the S&P 500 at that time. Now, obviously things changed, right? But at this time it was not chosen, and that caused a big dip. It kind of concerned some investors. So what happened is we got this big gap down and we dumped even harder. But I just want to make this separation for you guys that this was announced later. We didn't start dipping after we hit 500 because of the fact that we weren't on the S&P 500. That happened about a week later. So the week before that we were already dropping. So this is something you need to keep in your mind when it comes to this, and this is what I predict is going to happen. I'm not going to give a specific price target just yet because I don't know the date the split is going to come. I don't know exactly when or to what degree. Is it going to be I don't know, a 4-for-1 split, a 5-for-1? I don't know yet. We're still waiting on details. And I don't know the date because they're still working on this. But when we get a confirmed date and as we get closer to it, it's very probable that you're going to see this thing start to soar. Maybe not for like 4 weeks, maybe for just a week or two. We're probably going to start rallying and looking very, very strong. Then on the day we get the split, which is like right here, we might have a really green day. And we might be a little green, but because we ran so much, not just based off fundamentals, because when we run like this, there could be some fundamental thing on the side, right? I don't really know what the future is going to hold, but if we just announce a stock split and there isn't much else going on, If that's what the only thing on people's minds, if we're only running based off that, it's not a fundamental move. So because we rallied so hard based off FOMO, it's very probable we could actually see some red for a couple of days after. So you have to be prepared for that dip, right? And I'm preparing you guys right now because I don't know exactly when it's going to happen, but you need to be prepared for that. So, like I said, this drop right here was because of something else. So you don't even need to worry about this part. But right here, after we had that big run, we got that drop. So be prepared for that. So, like I said before, uh, today stocks are not obligated to copy the past, but they certainly have a tendency of doing that. So, this is something, just be prepared for that. Especially when we have really big FOMO runs, there will most likely be some downside that comes a little bit after. That doesn't mean the stock is going to crash forever. It just means we need to pull back a little bit, cool off the RSI, and get ready to find our support and consolidate. So, anyways, I want to thank you for listening. I hope you guys found value in this. I hope you learned about how a stock split works and how it's considered a stock split dividend, how that actually works too, and what may end up happening to the share price once this actually does come. Right now, it's not 110% confirmed when it's going to happen, to what degree. We don't know that yet. But when the news comes, I want you to be prepared because FOMO buying is amazing, but it's not going to be the sustainable thing that causes this thing to just really, really rally for the long term. It's going to play a role, but it's not everything because there'll be runs, there'll be some dips here and there, but we'll slowly continue on this upward trend, regardless of whether it's just FOMO or not. It's just institutional investors, other investors slowly buying in as the fundamentals improve because fundamentals are the bigger thing. A stock split does not improve fundamentals. You have to pay attention to that too. So, anyways, I know I'm going off on a tangent. I just wish you all the best. Please take care, enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Tesla to the moon, and peace out.